Welcome.
Make sure you clip that.
Welcome. Yeah, I will. Welcome to the Ancient Way. I'm James.
I'm Marlia.
We're talking about man caves,
She shed.
she sheds, and I uh I cleaned my office room at my house. I cleaned it a couple weeks ago during the Christmas break because it was like, and I noticed this too. There were projects all over my room.
Hmm.
There's tons of stuff. It's like everybody says it's a reflection of your mind and stuff. Tons of really cool stuff in there, but like nothing was finished. It was all like, almost done, and then I jumped to another thing. But I cleaned my room over the break. I cleaned it, and I hung up these like shelves, and I put up all my trophies and all my tokens and all my books and all the my valuable stuff that it has stories behind it and stuff. You know, like my I Love Lucy. There's like a little
Oh,
space for
that's cool.
that stuff. The Blue Angel jets.
Hmm.
So my whole office is almost like a physical representation of like tokens, stuff the Lord
Oh,
has showed
uh,
me, but also stuff that I just am inspired by
hmm.
or that I've made, and it's like an oasis. It's like an
I love
oasis
that.
for me. But I felt better after cleaning my room. Is it Jordan Peterson that always says to clean your room and stuff? I think he's the one that says that all the time. But which you can mean that can mean so there are meanings to it. But literally cleaning your space, organizing it,
There's something to it,
a
man.
game changer. Not that it's
Yeah.
just been a pigsty this whole time, but kind of has. But anyways,
Kind of was, but
my
that's
it's
okay.
the retreat space. Well, we spoke earlier, and you had a pretty fascinating subject, some pretty fascinating subject matter.
Yeah, it was something I've been chewing on, so I wanted to, I don't know, verbally process it here.
Yeah,
Um, so I've been thinking, I was kind of meditating on this whole concept of like in the garden and what was really the dynamics going on in the garden
yeah,
with the serpent and like what if the serpent was actually intertwined in the tree of knowledge of good and evil? Like what if he had twisted himself in it?
yeah,
Because that's what he does. He'll twist things. And I was just thinking about him twisting things. And then I started seeing almost like this picture, if you will, come kind of unfold in front of me of like the war between the tree of life and the tree
hmm
of knowledge of good and evil isn't
yeah,
just like, hey, did you make good choices? Did you choose to abide in the Lord? Like, yes. But really, it was a question that was posed to Eve's heart about safety and security. And it was like, where do you wish to be safe? Do you want to be safe in your own mind by your own judgment, by the tree of knowledge of good and evil? Or are you going to choose the safety and the protection of the Lord? And that was a thought that I just kept going back to was like the garden is all about safety. It's
yeah,
all about how a person feels, the safety that they feel. And I started thinking about how like that is the root of all life is like you can have love or you feel love, you can express love when you feel safe. You can feel joy, you can feel peace, you express joy, you express peace when your body feels safe, when you feel safe. Um, but it's resting in the safety and security of heaven, that he's all around you, that he's in you, that really is the whole thing about abiding in the Lord, but it's actually the safety of the Lord.
yeah.
Uh,
And protection, yeah, and provision,
yeah, because I think about like the disciples in the boat, right?
yeah,
There was all that storm, all that chaos that was happening, and it wasn't until they brought him into the boat, brought him in, that safety happened.
yeah,
The storms, the swirl stopped. But then I think on the flip side, like the judgment of something causes you to feel unsafe. Like if you trying to figure out, is this right? Is this wrong? Are these people good? Are these people bad? Like what side are you on?
Oh,
like, all of that is actually you searching for safety, but you're searching it through your own vein, through your own filter. And it was just like it was like a second degree, if you will, not a first degree safety. It's second degree safety. Anyways, but then I started going through this whole thought process of like, when you feel safe, when you feel secure, that's when you can hope. That's when you can have an expectation that God is actually going to go move on your behalf because you feel safe. You feel like he's in your corner. You feel covered by him. You feel courage. And I think that's why he always tells us, like, I'm always with you, right? That's the safety of the Lord, is knowing that he's always with you. But it causes people to have vision, and it causes people to be able to hope. And I think hope and safety and security in him, like actually having that mind, they go hand in hand. You can't have hope without having safety or security, which really is, you can't do that without abiding in the tree of life. And partaking of that tree. But anyways, those are concepts I've been chewing on.
Good.
There was so much hope for me in that. Because I think one of the things, Zach and I talk about this, like female and male dynamics. The big thing that I believe women are always filtering their life through is, am I safe? Am I secure? That people pick spouses over that. People pick, because it's either like, oh, they have money, well, I'll feel secure. Or, they have that sense of safety. Like, I want my kids to be safe, and I want my kids to be secure. And so women filter that. And I think that's why the Nahash actually went after Eve. Because it was actually about safety.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Studies of the star tell us that in order for a star of that magnitude to be seen from that far away, that it requires the alignment of certain planets. I'm just thinking to myself, God loves us so much that to send us a sign, he caused the planets to come into alignment.
Wow.
And I think women lead the way on that, to be honest. I think that no, I'm not crapping on y'all or men or anything, but I was just seeing how that thing has infiltrated so much. And it causes so many women to lose hope. Because that's exactly what Eve did. You've lost hope. She lost the hopeful expectation that God was actually fully for her. And wanted to give her everything and wanted to know her fully. She started to doubt. And I think hope and doubt can't they don't coexist.
Right.
Anyways, so.
Well, even my little thought in all this, whenever we talked about it earlier, it made me think of when you were talking about protection and safety and stuff like that. When you were talking about it, it made me feel like, oh man, like I feel his protection and his safety when I'm like in the place that I'm supposed to be at. Like knowing what that feels like, but even going back to the tree of eat this fruit, then you'll be like God. It's like if you do that, you're going to take on the responsibilities of God. Do you want to be the provider? Do you want to be the protector? It's like you can do that. You'll be the one that you take on his responsibilities, basically, which is like, we don't have any business doing that.
Totally. That's where the toil comes in. That's where the toil and the strain, and life is hard, and this is a hard season, and this is
And that's incompatible with humans.
Yes.
It's not
That's why it's so hard.
compatible with us, and that's why it is toil. We're not built that way. So why try to do it? It's like trying to. I had this little device that I was trying to find a power cable for, right? And the voltage wasn't right. It wasn't the factory outlet, and it's like, it's just not working. Like, it's not compatible.
Mm-hmm.
Can't put, AAA batteries in something that takes AA batteries. It's not that way. Viewing, striving, and working in the flesh as like we are not built for this. It's an interesting way to look at it.
It just makes me think about like how strategic the enemy is to whisper things where it's just, to me, it's those seeds of doubt.
Yeah.
That really try to rob the minds of people.
Yeah.
And how I always feel like there's this war in the mind.
Yeah.
Over those seeds, right?
Yeah.
So the words that the Lord has spoken over you, the words of life.
Yeah.
Even if you haven't even felt like you've heard him in your own sphere, it's just like, go read the Bible and that's his word over you. But the words of life that he has about like, my burden is easy and my yoke is light, like you and I were kind of talking about.
Yeah.
Is like, that's the thing that we're compatible with.
Yep.
And everything else are seeds that try to actually implant themselves to choke out the wheat, to choke out the good things that the Lord has for us, that the Lord is cultivating you, and what he's longing to give you, like Jeremiah 29:11, like even his thoughts towards you. I think that those tares try to rob the thoughts of God towards you, like in your mind, like you can't even. That's just like, when you try to go and you think about all the good things that the Lord says about you, if you have some of those tares, you get blocked in that because you're like, I don't even think I can hear what he says about me. I don't like anything about me, And it's the way that I think the enemy will sabotage and hijack.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. You were talking about, sorry, I'm still stuck on a lot of things you were talking about, the dynamic between Adam and Eve. Being a guy, from the perspective of Adam, can you imagine the sense of urgency that he might have had when she ate of it? It was like, this isn't working for me, so I'm doing this or whatever. His sense of like, maybe his lack, him feeling a sense of lack out of her decision and wanting to match that, like, well, him doing it too, kind of a thing as well, of like, oh my gosh, I didn't live up to what I'm supposed to be or what I'm supposed to do, and him jumping on it, which made me think of going back to safety. If you have a sense of, if somebody calls you and says, hey, the house is on fire, what is your immediate reaction? Is it panic, or is there a way like to where you can level yourself and say, okay, that, I'm not going to jump to any conclusions, or I'm going to be calm in this, which is directly goes down to the decision of, am I going to freak out over this and try to, I don't know, figure it out my own strength, or am I going to trust that it's going to be okay no matter what happens? I don't know. It gave me a sense of like Adam possibly feeling that sense of sudden urgency, or like the need to jump. Yeah, pressure, but like sudden pressure to like jump on something real quick without even consulting the Lord on it, or whatever that looks like, which is something relatable. That's like if something does arise, like, do you give anxiety the steering wheel, or do you have the ability, the awareness in that very moment to capture it and say like,
slow down.
Slow down. Yeah. But when you were saying that, that's just what it made me think of.
Well, that jump started a thought for me. I was like, oh yeah, if you think about what do most men struggle with? It's that feeling of inadequacy. Like I didn't live up to something, that I couldn't show up in that way, or like, that provider side of things.
Sure.
And it's like, I could see in that story how much of Eve's searching for safety made Adam want to prove himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when he wanted to prove himself to be like, hey, no, I'm adequate, then he partook of that.
Yeah.
And then the instant reaction is shame.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just thinking, like, holy crap, I see that in so many dynamics.
Yeah.
That's literally the lie.
Yeah.
It's been infiltrated.
Yeah.
These are almost like the operating systems that people have bought into.
Yeah.
That the operating system is actually causing them to spin out.
Yeah. Right.
You were saying that whole thing about, like, just in my mind, what I heard was pressure with compulsion.
Yeah.
It's like this compulsive need to be okay. And so you jump into things without slowing down and connecting to the Lord.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
realizing, like, time is actually not your enemy.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
There's not this rush that something has to be accomplished immediately.
Yeah.
But it's got to be done. I think in business, like, everybody's on a deadline. Like, we got deadlines for this. We got a goal. We've got a deadline.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, have you consulted the Lord about the deadline?
Yeah. Right.
What's his time frame on this thing?
Yeah.
And even in your 5-year plan, have you consulted the Lord about the
Oh yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
for sure.
even your strategic goals for the year, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Now my brain is spinning in a whole new
Yeah.
direction. But
Well, then when, like, even in the, going back to that moment too, of like when the Lord shows up, or when, like, true actual life and love shows up, then he's like, it's her fault. She made me do this. Or, if we're going in the direction that we're kind of talking about, it's like, well, she was not satisfied and she took on this thing. And so I was just doing what she was doing. I wanted to be there for her or whatever. But when actual life show up, it exposing that for what it is.
yeah, like, hey, bro, you were actually, like, you're hiding.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you realize, hey, look at you. Yeah. Yeah.
So interesting,
That is
man.
interesting. It is. But it's relatable too.
Yeah.
It's a relatable thing. Stuff does come up, and I mean, isn't that what all anxiety is? Is a attempt to protect yourself, or is it like
Totally.
an alarm, a protection alarm
Yeah.
that is sounding?
Yeah, that I don't feel safe.
Right. But if you can just, I don't know, if you can just catch those things, it's like the secret maybe is not what you do in there. It's just the awareness of the Lord, having the fear of the Lord in those moments. I think that's like one of the biggest cheat codes ever, is just inviting them into a space in the middle of when something happens. I don't know what I don't know what the solution. You just have to prioritize the kingdom. You have to prioritize the kingdom above everything else in order for that to be an option in those moments. That has to be number one on your heart. Because if it's not, these things will sideswipe you. And then later on, you might see it when you are safe. But that's the importance of kingdom first. Is you apply that to anything that comes up. It's like that's what you live through.
That's your first filter.
Yeah,
Truthfully,
that's the one. Yeah.
That I don't know if I shared this on here. Probably not. I've been sitting with it. But I had a profound experience when I was out of town with my family and with the Lord. And honestly, it, like, shook me to my core. So much so that in the morning, Bexley actually confirmed it.
Oh, cool.
It was wild, dude. Like, she actually called out the very things, the demonic beings that were in the room when I was having this encounter. And it tied back into a dream that I had several weeks prior. And it was just like, holy crap, like she ain't got no grid for this.
Yeah.
She has, she's all of 4.
Yeah.
But one of the main, it was like an audible voice came.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know how to fully describe this. It was like an internal audible, but it was very much so felt outside of me.
Yeah.
And it was, mercy, peace, and love be multiplied to you.
Oh.
And it was, first he said Jude 2, and I was like, I don't know what the flip that says. So I literally opened to Jude 2 in the midst of this very, very intense experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it said, mercy, peace, and love be multiplied to you. That's what Jude does. And it hit me so hard that, like, my entire core was shaken, and I realized that is the deepest desire of his heart for every person.
Yeah.
Is that mercy, peace, and love be multiplied.
Yeah.
Which to me instantly was like, mercy was his first response in the garden. Like, he didn't shame anybody.
Yeah.
He had nothing but mercy. And then he provided peace, right? He covered them because they were feeling so much shame.
Yeah.
And then his love was like, hey, by the way, all redemption is going to come through you, Eve.
Yeah.
Just so you know, like through your seed. Love will be multiplied here.
Yeah.
It's just like, that is the entirety of the kingdom.
Yeah.
That is the deepest desire of his heart. For every desire that you have, it's about the multiplication of mercy, peace, and love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even Peter echoes that, right? He says, like, peace and love be multiplied.
Yeah.
But it's like, to me, that's the exact contrast of what was happening in the garden, right?
Yeah.
So you're like building out of your own strength, and it's proving yourself, and it's seeking and desiring safety.
Yeah.
In a fallen form, where the voice of your dad is saying, I want mercy, peace, and love multiplied to you.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Anyways. So
that's good.
But I think that's the mentality that causes people to live in isolation.
Yeah.
Almost like lone wolves, not really wanting to be a part of a pack.
Yeah.
Not really wanting to move forward with people.
Yeah.
I think it's the thing that causes division.
Yeah.
I think it's the thing that really causes people not to pursue the Lord.
Yeah.
Even.
Right. Yeah.
But
yeah, it's stunting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even that thing that we were kind of talking about, you and I were talking about this earlier on the phone, is just like, when you choose to rest, all of these doors will start to open at the perfect timing.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of them.
Yep.
And they just get multiplied.
Yeah, that's true.
And they'll build on one another.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the connections that you've been having is freaking brilliant, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that seed of rest is what we were talking about, him, tree of life. It's him. That's the seed of rest where everything happens from, knowing that he's with you and you're protected by him and covered.
I think you and I have kind of talked about this a little bit. I was going to ask you, what do you feel like, right? Because the kingdom is extremely practical.
Yeah.
So how do you practically apply what being seated in rest looks like?
Mm-hmm. I don't know, just being aware that he's with you, and it starts where you're at. It's not like there's never I have to get there in order to be fruitful. Sometimes that can creep in, and it's like I need to do this in order to. But it's where you're at, and I was meditating on the presentness of the Lord and his ways and everything. I don't remember if that was this morning or yesterday, but I was just in my mind. I was like, you're literally in everything, and you literally unlock wherever you're at. You are unlocking something.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. And I've probably said this a trillion times, but like if you're stuck somewhere, you know, it's a heart change. You're the key to this moment, you know. Or if you feel a sense of urgency and obligation that you have to provide or produce something for somebody, maybe it's the key is like, well, what is rest in this? Like, step back and don't do that, or say no or yes. Consulting him and everything. And so I go about my day just like, what are we going to do today? But always being open with love to everybody around you. It's like the first person you see in the day. It's like, hey, there's somebody there.
Mm.
And you can kind of, you don't even have to ask, like, if you have, you know, want me to pray for that person? It's just being open, like, oh, you love that person. And just as your day going about it, you know, and it's like knowing that you're on a mission too. There's something like militant about it, being aware of your surroundings and things like that. And knowing that wherever you are, he's there too. So you can take him to all sorts of places
Mm-hmm.
wherever you go. It's like, it's not really you, it's him. You can take him places. It's cool. It's like you're walking around with a magic box that you can, you know, open up. You can go to wherever and open it up, and people get affected by it. So, but it's like you don't even try to do anything. He opens up doors and opportunities. Like you just walk through stuff, and then it snowballs, and it gets to the point. It's like where you don't really have to try anything. Stuff just opens up for you. Stuff just happens. You get presented with stuff, and you just walk through it, or you don't.
What do you feel like if somebody's experiencing something that feels cyclical or that they feel stuck in? It's like, hey, I actually don't see the way out.
Yeah. Well, that's a good one. I mean, I've had that too. And sometimes there's action involved. You know, be a doer of the word. Like sometimes he has us do stuff. Like when I go and shoot one of my movies, I can get frustrated that nothing's happening or that it's a slow process. But Jesus isn't going to come to my house and pick up my camera and shoot the movie for me. I mean, he could. He's not going to, probably. But that's something that I do. So there are moments where sometimes, and this is why you consult him, sometimes he's like, hey, make a decision, or hey, branch out, or leave. Sometimes it's hard to leave. But when you face hard things, you grow in that area.
For sure.
So sometimes it's not about leaving or staying, it's about confronting difficulty. You know? And he wants you to do that, to grow and sink roots in and, you know, be stronger. But
man, that's freaking cool.
yeah.
It resonates so deep. I was praying about Bexley. And Zach and I, we went on a little adventure today, and we were talking about her, and it's so cool because you can actually ask the Lord, what season are they in?
Oh yeah.
What's you in?
Yeah.
And so like if you're feeling stuck or you're feeling like you can't move forward on something, or you feel like, hey, this just doesn't make sense to me, I would encourage you to ask the question, what season am I in, Lord?
Yeah.
Like, is this a season for me to actually be trying to do that? Or is this, even though it's a very good thing, is it stealing the energy of my day?
Yeah.
You know, is it causing you to move over into something that you just not, it's not the season for it?
Yeah.
And I think learning to let go of all things, knowing that every good thing is coming to you.
Yeah.
When you're in alignment with even where the Lord has you in this process.
Yeah. And too many times we don't know exactly just how many options that we have available to us. And a lot of, you know, even if you're stuck, it's like, well, maybe there might be 5 different things that you could possibly do in that moment too. In your whole life, period, there's options. If you need a change or something like that, consult him on like, what area of my entire life could I tweak or change, or what, you know, what, and maybe he's like, what if you clean your room? Why don't you start there? See how that feels. See what that does to a person, or, you know.
I mean, sometimes it's really even that simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I've had go get a calendar,
Yeah.
start writing your things down, get them out of
Yes.
your brain.
Yeah. We're not as stuck as I think we are sometimes.
Hmm. Yeah, and it doesn't look like one thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I read this book, and I thought it was so brilliant. I mean, it was a business book, but it was saturated with the Lord.
Yeah.
But one of the things that they said was that they would ask their teams, what would this look like if it was easy?
Hmm. Oh, interesting.
What's a creative way? Like, if this is going to be, because this should be easy, right? His burden
Yeah.
is easy and his yoke is light.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, how do we do this if it's easy?
Yeah.
Maybe a big project.
Yeah.
Hard to me, like a lot of work is different than hard and easy are not equal to me. I should say that.
Yeah.
Pressure and easy are counter opposites to
Yeah.
me.
Hmm.
But to me, so that's like, what's the simplest solution here?
Yeah.
How do we make this thing work or whatever?
Hmm.
And I feel like that's sometimes just in the process of life, you can actually ask, like, okay, what would actually need to happen for this to be easy?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have to
Interesting.
call 1 bazillion people. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That actually feels easy.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. That's an interesting question. That's an interesting way to frame it.
mhm.
Yeah. Huh.
That was kind of a big thing for me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one. I need to put that in the show notes there. I want to remember that. Huh. Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's so much, I don't know, I feel so much different about 2025
Yeah.
than I felt about other years.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Me too. It's not just a hype thing like New Year. Here's the forecast.
Mm.
No, it's real.
no, it feels like a real shift.
There is a real shift. Yeah. I think for a lot of people. Oh, man.
Mhm.
I feel like it's I even talked to a couple of other people today. I feel like it's like if it's a balloon, if goodness and promises and even prosperity is like a balloon, it's like about to pop. Like it's almost to the point of like, here it is. And I think it's all going to hit simultaneously with a lot of people. I think it's
Yes.
going to just like maybe within the same hour, just boom, a sweep of blessing.
Mm.
That's what it feels like. I had I've been feeling that 2024 being the year of, faith, sinking roots in, difficulty, definitely, but testing faith, and then 25 being the year of faith rewarded, open doors and stuff. And I had a phone call with a friend, one of my friends from Africa Saturday, 2 separate sides of the world. And I asked him, I said, what is the Lord, has he shown you anything for this regarding the year? And it was the same thing. It was the same thing. Last year was difficult. This year is like the Exodus is over. We're entering the promised land. There's promised land fruit, that kind of thing. That's the real deal for sure.
I love that.
And that dream that I had about Conor McGregor, that lit me up. I woke up, and the first like 5 seconds of me being awake and just rolling out of bed, just disoriented, like coming back to my mind, I was like, oh, I woke up, was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. What an opportunity.
You got to share that whole dream.
I felt, yeah,
Share
we're being prompted with a sense of urgency right now. It says we have 4 minutes left.
We'll tell that dream
I'll
quick.
tell it real quick.
Bomb.
In the dream, it was me, my brother, some other people. We were at a table in my parents' old house eating bacon and eggs, just breakfast food. We're sitting there scarfing it down, and the TV came on, and there was like this pay-per-view boxing match and stuff. And I was just eating, and Jake said, "Oh, do you hear that?" He said, "You know what day it is, right? You know what today is?" And I'm like, "No, what is it?" He said, "You're fighting Conor McGregor this evening on live TV in front of the world." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that is tonight." And I like started laughing and stuff. And I'm like, I haven't trained a day for this. I haven't trained one bit. And I was telling everybody how excited, how cool this was. And everybody at the table was like, yeah, but it was just like, they're like, he's going to kill you, James. Like, this is not a good thing. But in my mind, in the dream, the Lord, I like heard him in my dream tell me, Conor McGregor is going to be super arrogant and he's going to humiliate you at first, but he's going to slip one time and you are going to like accidentally just land the perfect right hook that just hits. And that'll be it. Over. And it will be this 1 in a million underdog shot. And it just got me giddy. But as I'm telling people how it's going to happen, I'm grabbing their salt and pepper, trying to like season my breakfast and eating it. And the salt wasn't working. So anyways, I wake up from that dream just high on this, like, oh my gosh, if the Lord's with you, like he shows you something, do it. Walk through the doors that he opens. But also it gave me a relief, like, oh, don't season your food with somebody else's salt. Don't require that. But also it gave me a sense of grace on other people, because a lot of times I like probably seem really stupid because I'm very hopeful about things, and people are like, yeah, well, don't get your hopes up, or, well, that's nice. Whatever the Lord has for you will be, and it's like, no, you don't understand. I believe this. But it gave me grace on other people. And it's like, they don't have to be with you in it. But everybody will see stuff. You persist in faith. And when you get where you're going and stuff happens that he shows you, then the atmosphere changes. But that's my favorite dream. That as a recent memory, it was just like, felt so real. Felt so real. Yeah. Yeah. And it was like, that dude would destroy me in real life, but in the dream, it was like, no, you don't walk by sight or how long somebody's trained for something. It's like, I've shown you this, I've given you something to do, just do it. And you can have joy and fun in that. So anyways, that's it.
Yeah. It's like the whole concept of like, that dude was training in his own strength, but it pales in when the Lord lines up the perfect shot for you.
Yes, absolutely. And it's like nothing else matters except him. He's with you. Whatever he shows you, go for it. Defies everything.
If you enjoyed this episode of the Ancient Way podcast, drop us a like, share with your friends, share with your family. And if you'd like to support us and what we are doing, and you would like to play a direct role in our growth and the things that we do in the future,
we have a donation spot at the bottom of our show notes. So you can click on that, give however much you want. We appreciate absolutely everything. We appreciate our listeners and everybody that's already come alongside and encouraged us, and even everybody that's been on our show. So thanks, guys.